It's the motorsport revolution that has taken the world by storm. A racing platform that has over 8 million active competitors. And in season 2020, we are back for more. 14 of Australasia's best sim racers on Gran Turismo Sport will go head-to-head in the ultimate battle of sim racing supremacy. They'll do battle over 4 rounds at 4 iconic locations. And at the end of it all, one of them will be taking home $5,000 in cold, hard cash. Just who has got what it takes to be number one? Powered by Gran Turismo Sport and PlayStation 4, welcome to Season 3 of the Hi-Tec Oils Speedweek Eseries.
It's a sporting phenomenon that has taken the world by storm, with the next generation of drivers making their mark on one of the world's most popular and competitive platforms. Welcome to the Hi-Tec Oils Speedweek E-Series, powered by Gran Turismo Sport and PlayStation 4. We are so excited to be back, but this season we've upped the ante. We have cast our net far and wide to find 14 of the best sim racers on Gran Turismo Sport, and they will battle it out for the Speedweek E-Series title. Over 4 rounds we head to Spa-Francorchamps, then it's to Australia's iconic Mount Panorama, followed by the legendary Laguna Seca in California, and we finish up in Germany at the infamous Nürburgring. But who has what it takes to be named the Speedweek E-Series champion? Let's find out as we meet our drivers.
For our drivers that'll be racing in the Hi-Tec Oils Speedweek E-Series studios, they'll be racing on the Hyperdrive E-Racer simulator, utilising a Thrustmaster TGT steering wheel and pedals. They'll be viewing the action via a Sony Bravia 33-inch 4K monitor, and the racing platform is Gran Turismo Sport, powered by a PlayStation 4 Pro.
Well, as we saw in the driver introductions, we've got an extremely talented group of racers competing this week, and one of those is certain to add some spice to the mix. It's Queenslander Kenny Conomos. Kenny, thanks for having a chat with us, mate. How are you feeling about being part of the Hi-Tec Oils Speedweek E-Series Season 3?
I'm really excited to be here today, be here from home. It's a very cool opportunity. There's some really fast guys out there. I know a few of them. Some of them I'm very close with, so really looking forward to it. It's going to be a really good day.
Yeah, and like you said, there's some really strong competition for this season's contest. Who are the drivers you're going to be keeping an eye on over the next 4 rounds?
I think Simon is going to be up there, an old friend of mine. Keaton, maybe Brocky, I think is going to be up there. Honestly, there's probably 5 or 6 of us that are very close in time, so yeah, it could be anyone's today. Yeah.
So this is how the point system will work. You get 25 points for a win, 20 for second, 15 for third, and so on and so forth. The more important thing to note is you get 1 point for pole position and also 1 point for fastest lap. Now, it is actually a similar system to what's used in MotoGP, Richard Krupp.
Brian van der Wacker, it is, and it's a point system that puts the emphasis on winning motor races. So you want to get to the front, and later on we're going to have the reverse grid race, so it's going to make that event even more important. Now, qualifying here at Spa-Francorchamps was incredible. For a 7-kilometre lap to have a field this competitive was quite something spectacular, and it bodes really well, Brian, for the racing we've got coming up.
The more important thing, of course, about qualifying is making sure that you find a little bit of space, which is sometimes easier said than done because race car drivers often find the same bit of road. 2:15.2 already on the board for qualifying. It's been so competitive so far as well, Richard.
Yeah, Dean Allen had a really good run in the Hyperdrive car, that beautiful bright green and blue Porsche 911 RSR. Maximising your exit speed out of the slow corners is always important at Spa, and a 15.189 was his time. How's the margin though? There's literally hundredths of a second in it.
Kenny Conomos, one of the real contenders, you've got to say, as well as he works his way through the bus stop chicane and the Tri-Ace Australia Porsche 911 to the line as well. Great exit through the final corner, across the start-finish line, a 2:15 flat if you don't mind. That's going to be tough to beat, so much so, he took the fastest time ahead of Dean Allen, just over a tenth of a second away. Guy Barber in third. Paul Candanolian in position number 4, and Kenny McDonald, a nice drive as well there in P5. Completed the top 7 there. John Stankowski behind them as well. Jake Burton, watch for him. He was in 9th. Let's catch up with your pole sitter, Kenny Conomos.
And we've got Kenny on the line now. Congratulations, Kenny, in the Tri-Ace Australia Porsche. You have taken our first pole of the season. Congratulations.
Thanks, Charlie. Yeah, it was a good time to do a personal best lap, so it worked out really good. Yeah, I'm very happy. Yeah.
It was a very, very tight field. So how are you feeling about that first race?
It's going to be very tight. I mean, it's obviously better to be up at the pointy end. So hopefully I can just see if I can make a break and not get caught up in anything.
Well, all the best for the race, Kenny.
Thanks, Charlie.
Interesting to hear Kenny say there that was his personal best lap. And what a time to do it in qualifying as we get set for race number 1. Great shots of the drivers getting ready and even giving themselves a bit of a fist pump before this opening race of what is going to be a fantastic season. Even some drivers at home getting ready as well, Richard.
So 7 drivers in the Hi-Tec Oils Speedweek studio, the E-Series studio, and a bunch of them racing from home. One of them from across the Tasman. We're underway at Spa for the opening race of this very competitive series, and the Porsches barrel down into turn 1, second gear, slow corner, and power down, absolutely critical. And it's Dean Allen who's got the jump on the pole sitter as they run down to Eau Rouge for the first of 8 times.
Beautiful part of the racetrack, isn't it? As they fly up the hill for the first time. Slipstream's going to be important here as well. There is no extra effect, you would say, on slipstream. It is real life slipstream as they work their way down the Kemmel Straight. Look at Kenny here, looking towards the inside. He's going to take away the race lead as well into the very fast Lecombe circuit. Part of the racetrack here where you've got to try and get through the right-hander. Now flick it through the left as we go back on board here with Paul Candelolian through the right-hander. But a great start now from Kenny Conomos working his way back down the hill.
Yeah, it was. Really nice job. And getting that run out of Radion. And there's a big moment a little further back. I think it was Keenan McDonald had a big tank slapper. We're on board with Gassati, Adrian, in 6th position at the moment as they run through the corner of No Name and down to Pujon, that fast double left-hand corner sweeping down the hill. I think that slipstream is going to be very important. Maximising your run out of Radion at the top of Eau Rouge and down the Kemmel Straight is going to be critical. All these cars, Brian, are identical. Everyone's BOP the same. So every advantage you can get with a slipstream and a tow down towards the chicane is going to be absolutely critical.
A few drivers saying as well prior to this race that being 8 laps, being an even race, we probably expect pit stops around about the halfway mark to try and split the tyre runs. The reason for that is because it's easy therefore to manage your tyre. Some might maybe go for the undercut on lap 3, some might even choose for the overcut possibly on lap 5, but even sometimes saving a little bit of fuel in that slipstream might prove critical because that will mean you spend less time in your pit stop and therefore possibly jump those in front as well.
So strategy will play a role in this race. We're on board the Porsche Centre Willoughby entry, fighting for 3rd place up the outside of Candanolian into the bus stop chicane. And look at the field, Concertina up. It's busy behind. Stankowski and Burton, it was side by side, a little bit further back. But McDonald here, right in the thick of this fight. And crucially, Conomos hasn't been able to pull a margin over Dean Allen. So as we start lap 2 and that long flat-out run down towards Eau Rouge, that slipstreaming battle will be back on.
It's interesting, isn't it, for Conomos? I reckon he's got a little bit of enough of a margin here. He might just break that slipstream, which could prove critical. Or a big sideways moment for Dean Allen through Eau Rouge there. You don't want the car stepping out at that particular point. Look at Candanolian here, might have an opportunity as well. We go back to Simon Bishop too in the Shannon's Insurance Porsche. Back again along the Kemmel Straight, and like we said, Kenny Conomos has just got enough of a margin by the time he gets through the right-hander. So that is going to prove critical. Just enough for margin. Look at Candidolian here, up on the wheel. Great shots. He works his way back down the hill once again. He's even got the gloves on, Richard, for that extra little bit of touch through the steering wheel.
So we should emphasise every driver in this field on a simulator. There's no hand controller. This is as realistic as it can possibly be here on Gran Turismo Sport. Everyone in the same car, and everyone, I think, with that same level of focus. Paul was up on the wheel, concentrating hard, and the reason is he's running third at the moment. Remember, the further you finish up in this race, the further back you start in race 2 because it's a full reverse grid. Barbara looking up the inside into the right-hander. Couldn't quite get through on the KO car in front. This is a battle for 3rd and 4th place. Very, very intense. And just on your point earlier, Brian, Conomos got very good drive out of La Source, didn't he? And got the power down well, and it just broke the slipstream from Dean Allen. I suspect that is going to be critical to winning the motor racing here at Spa this weekend.
Absolutely, and already the top 4 are starting to build a bit of a margin between themselves and the rest of the field. You can see that now at the moment as they're about to complete lap number 2 here. A bit further back, Jake Burton probably hasn't moved up quite as much as I thought he would do in these early stages. He did start 9th, he's up to 7th at the moment, and a wide moment there, unfortunately for Candidolian. He's going to come under attack here from Barber as they work their way through the final turn. Again, this drive now at the exit of turn number 1 is going to be vitally important. Candidolian holding on for the moment in the KO Sport Porsche back down to turn 1.
Yeah, it was a big moment, but he actually still got a good run out of the chicane there. A little bit shallow under braking into La Source, ran wide on the exit, and it's opened up a window for Barbara to get through. Now, the 2 leaders have pulled away. Here's the 27-year-old from the Gold Coast. He leads the motor race. Kenny Conomos out in front. Dean Allen second. But, gee, the battle is on. This is a Thrustmaster car. A little bit further back has a big tank slapper at Radion and struggles to get the car pointed in the right direction. These drivers are racing as hard as they possibly can as we have a look at Guy Barber right in the thick of the action.
He's under attack here at the moment, isn't he? As they work their way around the backside of the circuit. I think he's lost out in that little battle pack there as well. He's in the studio. Check out the socks. How's the colours on the socks to get the feel through the pedals as well? Because, Richard, sometimes the best way to go about a simulator is to have those socks on as well.
Yeah, it's one of the biggest differences between racing in the real world and racing virtually is that you don't need all the fire protection stuff, which many people, especially me, would see as a massive advantage. So you get that better pedal feel, that better modulation through your right foot or your left if you're a left foot braker as you barrel down into the big stops here at Spa. So through the second part of Puon, there's a car off wide. It's the Hi-Tec Oils car, dropped it out on the curb on the exit and it's going to get gobbled up here. The fire-safe Australia-New Zealand car heads through the chicane. But this field is so close and so competitive that, as you can see, if you make an error like that, you drop 3 or 4 spots. The field was so tightly packed in qualifying, it does actually put a premium on overtaking, and mistakes, Brian, will be absolutely critical to maximising results across this Hi-Tec Oil Speedweek Eseries. Thanks, of course, to our friends at PlayStation, Gran Turismo Sport. It's so competitive. And a run up into Blanchimont, there's a change of position.
Don't know if you caught that there, but Jake Burton actually flicked the left-hand indicator on to say to Simon Bishop, just go through, mate, let's play this together. And that's quite important because they're not actually holding each other up in that slipstream to try and catch those drivers in front. It looks like Adrian Gossardi has gone into the pits as well here to complete a pit stop. So pitting around about that halfway mark that we were talking about, maybe trying that little undercut, but he's got to play it very carefully because at the start of this stint, he's really going to have to manage those tyres because the tyre wear, believe it or not, is times 9 compared to what it would be in real life. So there's incredible amount of tyre wear, and to get to the end of this race now on one set of tyres, it's going to be tough. We'll have to see how he handles this one.
Yeah, so you might get straightaway gain in terms of an undercut, but you'll pay for it later on. Here's a fight. It's back on for the lead. Allen has worked his way back in front. Conomos with the toe. This is what we were talking about at the start of the race, and goes around the outside into the chicane and retakes the leading position. So that's the 3rd lead change for the motor race. Great bit of racecraft between the two of them. And I like the point you made before about Jake Burton just going, hey, let's work together in this. And you've got to do that because the tow will be very effective. Working together as two cars in a straight line will be better than carving each other up. It might maximise your chances of closing that margin to the leading cars.
The thing that I love about sim racing, Richard, is it's so much about that hand-eye coordination. Because you don't get that feeling through the bub, I guess you would say, you've really got to stay focused and focus in on those hands as well. And it's incredible the amount of sweat that you can actually produce in races like this because you're so fixated on what you're doing. It's so focused. It's so easy to make a mistake. And these guys are incredible at not doing that and just punching out these lap times lap after lap after lap. It's brilliant to watch.
Yeah, that whole hand-eye thing you're talking about probably explains my brief and unspectacular sim racing career, I think, because it's fairly non-existent in my world. This is a great fight, and everyone just trying to get themselves sorted before diving into pit lane. And it's going to be interesting to see if that undercut pays off for the cars that have already stopped, just to see how that plays out later, to see if they can get some track position while this massive group of cars are squabbling. Leaders through Blanchimont, down towards the bus stop chicane. Conomos, Allen, Barbara, Bishop up to fourth place, the Kiwi, racing from across the Tasman, and Jake Burton, one of the most experienced sim racers in the paddock, currently runs in fifth place, but everyone diving for pit lane and that really awkward pit entry here at Spa. Has anybody decided to run longer and try and get that overcut while everyone else bails into pit lane?
We spoke about it, wasn't it? Trying to split that tyre strategy, equaling it out during this race as well. And that's exactly what they've decided to do. Now, watch for Gastardi because he was around about that battle pack for third at the moment. He's last on the road at the moment, being the first of those drivers to complete their compulsory pit stop. Fuel going in the cars now at the moment as well. Remember, that's at ×3 compared to what it would be in real life. So burning it off 3 times higher rate. And it looks like Dean Allen has come back out in front as the race leader ahead of Conomos. And there's Gastardi back there in position number 3. So he's done a nice job in all this. But remember, he's going to have to look after those tyres and he might just fall back through this field late in the race as here comes Kenny Conomos now in the Tri-Ace Australia Porsche, back down the Kemmel straight again, and he's going to retake that race lead. This drafting battle is brilliant to watch.
It's a great battle. The Hi-Tec Oils Speedweek Eseries is underway at Spa. We're going to jump away for a short break and come back with the end of race 1 right after this.
We're halfway through race 1, season 3 of the Hi-Tec Oil Speedweek E-Series, powered by Gran Turismo Sport and PS4. Kenny Conomos, your leader so far at Spa-Francorchamps. Dean Allen in second, doing a nice job between the two of them. They're really battling hard at the moment out in front, and a few variations in terms of strategy at the moment, Richard Kraft.
Yeah, it is. So we've seen Adrian Gastardi pit early and basically go for the undercut, and it's paid off. So he's jumped a couple of cars during that sequence. But as we discussed before the break, the tyre wear ratcheted up and these long, loaded, fast-flowing corners here at Spa, I'm wondering how he's going to go at the end of the race. He's got the gain early. Will that undercut pay off? Can he hold position? Or will he drop back into the hands of Guy Barbera where he is now? Stankowski is in there. Candemolian's there. Bishop in the queue. It's a massive fight. In fact, the top half a dozen cars are all basically running line astern as they head up towards Blanchimont. So it's a really fascinating little strategic battle that will play out as this race unfolds.
Guy Barbera's just moved up a spot there as well into position number 3, so already now starting to make his way forward as well in this battle pack that's forming between our top 4 drivers right now. And it looks like a little bit of a moment there as well, possibly for Gastardi. They're going through the final corner as we have a look at Stankowski and Matthews even giving each other maybe a bit of a hello, warm welcome there as the shake of the hand as well. That's probably one of the things. If you're unhappy with someone and you're sitting right next to them, why don't you let them know as well?
It's a nice environment, the Hi-Tec Oils Speedweek E-Series studio, but if I'm me, I'd rather be at home on my own with no distractions, and I'd always be looking at the screen next to me to see what my closest rival's doing, especially if you're boxing on like these two are. So the KO sports car, Paul Candinolian right in the mix as they head up to Radion. He is going to get mugged here. They're in a straight line up towards Le Combe. And the hyperdrive car drops a spot. That's the tow we've been talking about. Allen back to third place. So the undercut right now working brilliantly for Barbara. He's gained some spots, going nicely. Gastardi in there as well. This is a great fight.
it's great, isn't it? Simon Bishop up to 6th at the moment. Jake Burton back there in 7th as well. As we go back to that battle pack, in fact, and there was a couple of wheels being dropped off the edge of the circuit there as well. So it's all happening deep in the field right now. Look at this side-by-side action as well. Oh, and almost just saves it as well. Back into no name. In front of them as well, Simon Bishop is going side-by-side as well. He was stuck on the outside in the Shannon's Insurance Porsche as well. So not somewhere where you would expect two cars to go side-by-side. And back again, Richard.
So close to being a massive accident down there at the first part of Puon. The double left-hander at the bottom of the hill. It's a fast, loaded corner. Contact there will send you off into the boonies. So Paul has got the eyes on in this one, but he's under furious pressure. Jake Burton locked in behind. This is a guy that's raced at the highest level in esports competition, but has also got the real world racing experience as well. A couple of seasons in the Toyota Gazoo Racing 86 series. Very successfully, actually. Top 15 finish in the championship, some really good race results. And he has driven a supercar for Brad Jones Racing. He's also the factory driver for BJR in the Supercars E-Series action. So this is a guy with a lot of miles. So Gran Turismo Sport, not generally a game he's hugely experienced on, but showing his level of ability and experience by being right in the thick of this action.
So 2 more laps to go now as the leaders pass the start-finish line. And if you look at the margin now from first back to second, Kenny Conomos is really starting to build a gap now, you would say. And the interesting thing, the more that these guys fight for second, third and fourth, the more Kenny is just going to squeak away out in front now and start to really put an exclamation mark next to his name to trying to claim this opening race of Season 3. Not only that, but also getting the 25 points and the possible bonus point if he can get the fastest lap as well. And how is the action as they go up through Eau Rouge? They are pushing the limits at the moment.
Yeah, Barbera had a big wiggle, tipping the car in. Even in virtual world, that camera at the bottom of Eau Rouge gets the hair on the back of my neck up. It is just an awesome bit of road. And Barbera's had a moment here, and he's going to get gobbled up around the outside. There's a little bit of fisticuffs as they go wheel to wheel. This is great racecraft. Side by side, Alan couldn't get through there. What a great battle. More contact down the hill to the right-hander.
Oh, this is fantastic stuff to watch, isn't it? Some of the best sim racers in Australia going hammer and tong right now in the opening race of the season. If this is what we can expect from race number 1, goodness knows what we're going to get for the rest of the season. It's going to be fantastic.
Oh, and reverse grid coming up, Brian, so that's just going to be astonishing, isn't it? So Guy, he looks unflappable and we see him at work, but he is in the thick of a World Championship for P2 here. And like you touched on, all this is doing is allowing our race leader Kenny Conomos to pull away out in front. Back to Candonolian, who's been in the thick of the action as well in the KO sports car. He's got Burton in front, Stankowski in that bright blue car just in behind. Aidan Matthews as well buying himself into this battle, and Keenan McDonald isn't far off. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 cars locked together as they run up Curva Paul Freire and up towards Blanchimont.
Yeah, Simon Bishop here, he's certainly got his work cut out to try and keep all these cars behind him at the moment. He's only got to do this really for another lap, but the important thing is going to be how this field tries to sort themselves out once they reach this slipstream, and there might be half a chance here for Burton to throw it down the inside here at the bus stop chicane. If he's close enough, Simon Bishop might just try and move that car to the right. He doesn't, he stays on the racing line, which is vitally important. Maybe Burton thinking of the long game here, and of course that slipstream going down the Kemmel Straight.
Yeah, I think you're bang on talking about the long game there as well, Brian, because the better option is to conserve your overtaking there, because if you dive down the inside, it's going to compromise your exit to the corner. So you're better off either nailing them at La Source or getting that slipstream. And this bit of road we're heading now down the hill towards Eau Rouge and line them up with that very powerful slipstream on the Kemmel Straight.
So for the final top, big moment there as well as they go up through for Allen. He was lucky to get a hold on to that car. He's had that moment a few times so far in the race as the tyre wear now really starts to play a big part. Here comes the battle now for position number 2 as they work their way down into the Lacombe part of the track. And look at this, almost sideways, but he's got the job done. Moves up to position number 2. But out in front, Kenny Conomos is saying, yep, you boys just keep going for it. I'll drive off into the distance.
So Dean Allen, who led the race from the start into turn 1, got gobbled up on the opening lap. He's been in this leading group the entire motor race, but he's just given up those 10 car lengths to Kelly Conomos. So we're halfway through the final lap. That was a really well-judged move. And if Barbera can't get the move done up on the straight to the chicane, This is the lap where you do that Hail Mary into the bus stop, back the car in if you can, but you can bet Dean Allen, if he's under pressure, is going to be defending very, very hard into the final few corners. Fights on for second, barring any issues and any mistakes. I think Kenny's got this one shot to pieces out in front. Really mature, level-headed drive by the Queenslander out in front to open the E-Series account. Thanks to Hi-Tec Oils with a win, but second place wide open, and who knows, if you're Gasardi running in fourth, a little bit of a coming together from these two, you could find yourself on the podium very, very quickly.
Gasardi's done a nice job, hasn't he, with those tyres that have been aging. Of course, he pitted a lap early. He's lost a little bit of ground, but he's certainly held his own very, very well there in position number 4. Barbera here, looking, searching. If you're going to go for the move at the bus stop chicane, now is the time. He's maybe a little bit too far back. Allen will cover the line here on the right-hand side. It's going to be a drag race now to the line, you've got to say. Forget about your leader. It's the battle for position number 2. Kenny Conomos is going to open his account with a win in race number 1 of season 3 and a great drive in the end for that battle in position number 2. Allen held on from Barbera, Gasardi in position number 4, and then Simon Bishop completing the 5. What a race. Race number 1 for what is going to be a tremendous season. Let's listen into the radio chatter here of Kenny Conomos, your race winner.
You get a point for hole, and you get a point for fastest lap. Yeah. Got all 3. Yeah, I just nailed my first poly lap. PB, personal best. Yeah, really.
Great to hear from Kenny there as well. Let's also listen to Jake Burton here.
Yeah, but there wasn't even any of that. It was just really good racing. Like, it was just super, like Sidog messaged me and he said that was like being in a world tour. That's exactly what it's like at like a land world tour. It's like that's what the racing's like apparently.
Well, that's high praise indeed for the level of competition for Jake Burton. He finished 7th in that one. Great win, the Trias Australia driver. Just a second in it. Dean Allen held on at the end there over Barbera. Gasardi up to 4th, so the undercut worked really nicely. Matthews just outside the top 7. Stankowski was next. Allen, McDonald, Holton, Tame and Healy rounding out the 14. What a way to kick things off. Here's Charlie speaking to the race winner.
And we're back with Kenny. Congratulations. You've taken out the first race of the Speedweek E-Series. You've got to be pretty happy with opening your campaign like that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it really was a perfect start in the end. I mean, quali and then fastest lap as well, so got those extra points. I had a really good battle with Brocky. Unfortunately, picked up a half-second penalty on the first corner, so had to ease that off and be smart about it with the run up through Eau Rouge and onto the long straight. So it was a bit of back and forth, but yeah, managed to pull away with it. So very happy.
And you're right, they certainly didn't make that first place easy for you. The battle for first, second and third was tough. Talk us through it.
Yeah, I think it looked like I had it pretty easy there, to be honest. A few of them were getting together right near the end, and it really just comes down to that run on after Eau Rouge onto the long straight. It's very important to kind of be behind someone. If you're out front, it's quite difficult.
Well, thank you so much, Kenny, and all the best for the reverse grid coming up next.
Thanks, Charlie.
Now the tough thing, Charlie alluded to it, the reverse grid here. So the positions are going to be reversed. Connor Healy will start this one from position number 1. Liam Tame alongside him on the front row. So it's going to be difficult to see for these faster drivers more towards the back as we flip over the page. There he is, Kenny Conomos from 14th, Dean Allen from 13th. And look at Jake Burton, pretty more similar to where he actually started in the previous race. So maybe possibly an opportunity here for Burton to work his way up through the field. Having a look at our drivers here as well, ahead of the reverse grid race number 2 here, Richard. It's going to be great.
It is. A bit of tension in the studio, I would have thought. It might be a little bit more relaxed at the various homes for the drivers that are operating from home in this one, but the Hi-Tec Oils Speedweek E-Series studio, the tension is there. You could cut the air with a cricket stump. There's the winner in race 1. Ready for a start. Race 2, reverse grid at Spa. And you wonder if Jake Burton, who's exactly in the middle of the field, is in the best possible position to capitalise. Down to the hairpin they go. Clean start. Everyone out of the corner okay. And the rush down to Eau Rouge starts. But Connor Healy, the 22-year-old from Avonlea in Perth over in the west, leads them into Eau Rouge for the first time.
See what, he's got a fair old gap as well as they work their way up across the top now of Eau Rouge, so he might just be able to have enough here underneath him to launch into the next part of the circus. We have a look at Stankowski here on driver's left, working his way now up into Le Com, and he's going to possibly pick up a spot here as well, as indeed he does. Though position number 5, can he hold it around the outside? You bet he does. Yeah. And now Burton's going to try and go in amongst this fight as well, but he was a little bit sideways there and lost a little bit to Barbera in behind. So already Burton got his work cut out now, because Barbera is going to search for him here underneath the inside rear wing of that car, and looks like Healy, our leader, already starting now to come under attack.
Yeah, the Hi-Tec Batteries car is under some pressure. Holton looking to close in, but a pretty solid margin. You heard what Kenny Conomos said after race 1. He said what we were talking about in the commentary, how critical it was to have a margin going up through Eau Rouge and Radion on the Kemmel Straight, because the slipstream is so powerful. So that is going to be absolutely critical. Right now, Connor Healy is doing a superb job building that margin. Stankowski in 4th place. Beautiful blue and black liveried car. He's charging his way up. This is a Sleeping Duck Racing entry. Nice move. He's 4th so far. He had good pace in race 1, Brian, but was just buried in that midfield battle. So it's so hard to make progress when you're further back in the field.
All right, let's speak of that progress, because we can see the names on the left-hand side of the screen. Kenny Conomos started dead last. He's already up to position number 15. You compare that to those around him. Dean Allen still down the back of the bus, and he's already got past Simon Bishop as Kenny Conomos. So he's made a great start in all this one. And of course, these reverse grid races is going to be all about staying out of trouble. Hopefully there's not too much of that. That might be my famous last words here, Richard, in this one.
Don't do it.
Yeah, I know, but staying out of trouble, being clean, being consistent in amongst cars that you're maybe not sometimes often dicing with is going to be absolutely vitally important. We go on board with Paul Candidolian here in the KO Sports Machine. Back it down into turn number 1. Again, some side-by-side action, not just on the screens as well, but in the studio too.
A wry smile on the face of some of these drivers. I think they're enjoying themselves. Crucially, Dean Allen still right at the very back of the field. We're on board the Sleeping Duck car again with Stankowski. He runs down into Eau Rouge. Thrustmaster car is there as well, leading this freight train, but under massive pressure, and has a tank slapper at the top of the corner. So he's going to get gobbled up here. The Hi-Tec car's on the outside. Connor Healy's got a really nice margin, while these guys have been scrapping for 2nd, 3rd, 4th and 5th position. McDonald gets himself to 2nd place, wheel to wheel into the chicane. Stankowski trying to make a move. He tried, and he tried again. Couldn't quite get it done. That's the scene in the studio. Holton there, Matt Allen, and a massive tank slapper. Hold on to it. Oh, he caught it too. Great bit of race car driving.
I can't believe it now. You can see how the car then just went out of visibility. What that means is there would have been a little penalty imposed. It might have been for contact. It wasn't a large penalty. It was only for about half a second. So if you ever see that again, where the car pops out of visibility, goes into a ghost mode, that means the driver actually has a penalty and therefore is actually slowed down by the computer at a particular point of the racetrack. So watch out for that again. So a penalty was imposed, and it would have been for contact then.
It was a penalty for having the world's biggest tank slapper that lasted for 15 minutes down the hill there. It was an extraordinary bit of car control, though, to gather that up. So, Connor Healy and Keenan McDonald now 1 and 2. How good is this? Look at the Fanatec car going up the inside. Shannon's there as well. Simon Bishop making some moves. We're on board with Aidan Houghton. He's just been gobbled up by 2-3 cars now. Barbera goes through. Candeleon goes through. It's a huge fight in the midfield, and all this is doing is allowing the leaders to pull away. They're going side by side to Blanchimont, thank you very much.
Geez, Houghton was unfortunately really hung out to dry there, wasn't he? He was up towards the pointy end for this race, but now almost down the back of the bus already in position number 11. They're almost 3 wide here going to the bus stop chicane. You can see there again a little penalty imposed as well as they went down there. He's going to be forced out wide here as well. He's going to lose another spot here to Kenny Conomos, who is stuck in this fight. You cannot believe it. Kenny's going to have eyes in the back of his head at the moment trying to figure out where to go as we have a look at Houghton and Matt Allen again on screen on the right-hand side there as they go back down into the first turn here. Oh, goodness me, you don't know where to look. It's everywhere at the moment. The cars are just absolutely going left, right and centre. You don't know where to look. Back towards the front. Healy's got McDonald here in behind. I don't know if this is going to be enough of a margin. They were both ringing the necks of the Porsches going up through the top of Eau Rouge. And here comes McDonald now underneath that rear wing. He's got the slipstream. The 2 Hi-Tec cars side by side change for the lead. McDonald now into position number 1.
Hi-Tec Oils in front of Hi-Tec Batteries in the fight for the lead. up the hill into Lecombe. Nice bit of driving between the two of those. They need to be aware that they've got a really nice margin. Now, remember what we talked about earlier this race, Jake Burton, he's climbed his way up to third place through all of this, so he's looking very strong. Jono Stankowski just in behind. Liam Tame, who started from the front in this one, back to 5th place. Simon Bishop, the Kiwi, up to 6th. So he's another to have made good ground. And you talked earlier, Brian, about the great ground that Kenny Conomos had made early. Well, he's actually lost some. He's dropped down to 12th. You can see it on the totem left of screen. So made lots of ground early, but in that massive fight in the midfield, he's found it very, very tough to make forward progress.
You'd almost say Guy Barbera has probably been one of the big shufflers there from the rear of the field up to position number 9 there, so doing a nice job as well. Simon Bishop now starting to make his way through the field as well, up into position number 6. We were talking about him battling with Kenny Conomos a moment ago. Gossardi here, he's got 2 cars stuck in front of him, that being Halton and Barbera. Looks like Halton, they're just running a little bit wide. Might be an opportunity here for Gossardi to get the job done. He's got cars left, right and centre, almost in the middle of him at the moment as well. Keeping in mind Kenny Conomos in this fight as well, in that blue and white car just behind. He's in front of Dean Allen here at the moment as well in the hyperdrive Porsche machine. It's hold your breath stuff at the moment, isn't it? As they work their way through the very fast left-hander. They're sorting themselves out here. Gossardi ahead of Conomos and Allen in behind. The battle for positions 11, 12 and 13.
Oh, off. Is that the race one winner? I think it was. Conomos firing off. And a few cars, I was wondering if anyone was going to try the undercut buried in this field. And a few cars have blazed off into pit lane. So that's a smart move. Get yourself out of the fight. Get a lap in clean air before everyone else dives into pit lane. Dean Allen down the inside at the hairpin. Big tank slapper on the exit. Oh, and more contact on the exit of the corner. So struggling to get the power down. But cars in pit lane, compulsory pit stop for fuel and tyres. I think this is a really smart move. Fire yourself out of the battle. But critically before that, we saw Kenny Conomos go very, very wide on the braking zone into the bus stop chicane. So a lot of that good ground that he'd made early, he's chucked away.
Jake Burton here on screen at the moment as well, getting past Connor Healy. So Burton up to position number 2. This has been a stellar drive so far from Jake Burton. Started all the way down around about position number 8, and he's firing his way through the field right now. So watch out, those that pitted on that lap, Aidan Matthews and Adrian Gossardi. Here they are on screen, back through into the top section of the circuit. So now, you mentioned the undercut though, Richard. Now they're fighting with each other, using that slipstream. So you've got to be careful here, because if you want to make this undercut work, it would have been ideal if you'd come out back on track with no one around you.
Well, the whole idea of an undercut is to get yourself into clear racetrack, not into another battle with the guy that pitted with you. So these two could be surrendering the advantage that they could get having stopped a lap earlier than anyone else. And as we saw in race 1, if you stop on lap 3, a 5-lap run on tyres is okay. You'll still have enough to fight towards the end of the motor race. So they could be in a really good position, especially if this scrap continues. What a great show this has been so far. The Hi-Tec batteries car, Connor Healy, just dropping back a little bit now, having run at the front early on, got passed by Keaton McDonald. Jake Burton has slipped past as well, and now he's defending pretty stoutly from Stankowski as they run through Blanchimont and towards the bus stop chicane. So who pits this time? Can they pit if they're going wheel to wheel and having a war? And the Hi-Tec batteries car is squeezed out wide. Last minute decision to pit as well. He dived in, but he lost 2 spots in the process. But everyone now barreling off into pit lane.
That was interesting, wasn't it? Because Connor Healy, basically it was like he was merging onto the freeway. Had to give way to those cars in underneath him in order to get into the pits there, because I reckon if you're going to stay out for another lap, it might just burn you for tyres. As we have a look at Jake Burton there a moment ago, just waiting for the fuel to go in that car as well. And there he is, exiting now the pits back onto the racetrack as well. So just looking at where this puts these drivers in this field as they return to the racetrack and waiting for our timing beacons to try and update themselves. I reckon Aidan Matthews and Guy Barbera have sort of lost out in all this fight. Dean Allen back there as well. So don't know if the undercuts quite worked in this particular circumstance.
There's Dean Allen just at the back of this queue, shown in 12th. Still some results to tumble down when everyone finishes this round of pit stops. What a fight this has been in the reverse grid race here at Spa-Francorchamps. Amazing action. The Hi-Tec Oils car in the Hi-Tec Oils Speedweek Eseries. Thanks, of course, to PlayStation and Gran Turismo Sport. We jump on board with Jake Burton. He's got Jono Stankowski just in front. I think Jono's driven very well in that sleeping duck car in this race. The fight is on, the battle is on for the race lead. Reverse grid race halfway through. Back with the conclusion right after this.
Through the reverse grid race at Spa for the Hi-Tec Oil Speedweek E-Series powered by Gran Turismo Sport and PS4. Of course, this reverse grid has certainly shaken things up so far, with the fastest drivers having to come from the back, working their way through the field to try and get towards the front. Keith McDonald so far leading the way ahead of Jono Stankowski. Jake Burton so far one of the big contenders in this race. He's moved up through the field into position number 3. He is the man you've got to earmark with Stankowski in front of him. Richard, we've had an incredible battle so far with drivers all over the place.
I don't know why people don't like reverse grid races, Brian. I think they're amazing, and the show that we've had so far has been outstanding. Wheel to wheel, Shannon's car gets a move. Simon Bishop, the Kiwi, has gained a little bit of ground in the braking zone into their hairpin, so that's nice. The Fanatec car just showing the nose a little bit further back on the KO Sports car. This brightly liveried and coloured field, it looks sensational. And I might just throw in as well, as we jump on board the Hi-Tec Batteries car of Conor Healy, how good are these Gen 1 Porsche 911 RSRs? These are a car that have won the GTE Pro and AM classes at the Le Mans 24-hour and the FIA World Endurance Championship. They are one of the best cars Porsche has ever made in their storied history of sports car racing. They sound extraordinary. I've had the good fortune, Brian, to see them in real life at Silverstone, and it's Formula One-esque, these cars. Absolutely love them. Nice Formula One-esque move there by Jake Burton, who's going to get a run on Stankowski. He got great drive through Radion, got the toe, a little bit of side draft as well, and moves himself up into second position. So we touched on it early on that starting midfield, Jake, who was towards the front of the pack on pace in that opening race we saw just a little while ago, we thought he might be one of the big movers and shakers. Well, that's played out. The fire-safe car is right in the mix. He's now P2.
So the question now, with 2.5 laps to go, have they got enough pace to catch Keith McDonald out in front? It's a fair old task, and there's going to be a lot of work to be done, but if they can work with each other, continue to do that, there might be half a chance with that slipstream effect that they could catch Keith McDonald. I'll tell you what, speaking of some moves a little bit further back through the pack, it's all happening at the moment, isn't it? As Simon Bishop just in front of this little battle pack at the moment between Candololian, Liam Tame, Conor Healy as well. Here's Liam Tame right now, back through the left-hander here at the moment as well. So Candololian just in front of him now, just pulling away ever so slightly in that KO Sport Porsche as well. So for Tame here at the moment, he's just stuck in a little bit of a rut right now, because Healy and Matthew Allen as well certainly looking to try and get past, maybe that bus stop chicane. Maybe tyres starting to play a factor at the moment as well, Richard.
Do you know, I think Liam Tame's done a solid job, the 20-year-old from Greystones in New South Wales in the Care A2 Plus car. He's been pretty competitive in this race, top 6 at the moment. Conor Healy behind. Remember, Healy was further up the field at the start of this before he got sort of boxed in trying to get into pit lane at this part of the racetrack. He was on the outside, had to cut back across to driver's right to dive in. Tame's a little bit wide there on the entry to the bus stop chicane. It's had a few little iterations over the years, that corner. That really slow entry onto the pit straight, I think, improves the racing. Slow corner, longish straight into a slow corner. There's not a lot of aero wash through the slow speed stuff, so you get that really closely bunched field, and then they head down the field and you get that slipstream. So I think Liam's done a great job. Spends about 14 hours a week on the simulator getting practice. And here's a fun fact for you, Brian. This young man is also one of our much-loved motorsport officials in the real world, young Liam, and he waved the green flag at the back of this year's Bathurst 1000. So well done for volunteering and keeping the motorsport world happening.
What an adrenaline rush that would have been to kickstart the great race. And you mentioned their sim hours a moment ago. For some of these drivers, in fact, they can spend the average is between 5 to 15 hours per week. Guy Barber, who we had a shot of a moment ago, he spends, believe it or not, between 30 to 40 hours a week on the sim. So these drivers certainly doing a lot of work behind the scenes in amongst their day jobs as well, to get as many laps possible and to prepare as well for this particular E-Series, of course, the Hi-Tec Oil Speedweek E-Series, as we work our way towards the end here of race number 2, the reverse grid race at Spa.
Well, and you mentioned the preparation that goes into it. A lot of this field have got experience at the top level in the FIA-sanctioned FIA GT E-Series that races around the world with global competition. So the standard is very, very high. And you look at a guy like Adrian Gassardi, who has been in the mix throughout this competition. He's had 4 top 10 finishes in the FIA Global Championship. So that shows the level of quality of this field, Brian, and how high these guys are operating. They are world class, and that's why we're getting this unbelievably good racing product in the opening round of Season 3 of the Hi-Tec Oils Speedweek E-Series, powered by Gran Turismo Sport and PlayStation 4.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that because guys like Kenny Conomos, Connor Healy and also Simon Bishop were meant to go back overseas again this year and compete in some of those FIA World Sanctioned events. But of course, with the world pandemic that's happening at the moment, they were confined to being back here in Australia. Oh. Drama as we start the final lap.
No.
And this is for some of our key contenders towards the back as well.
That was a big moment. There was a lot of contact, and it's going to take a bit of work to unpick what went on there, because there were cars that barreled in Noah's Ark style 2x2 into the final chicane, and ultimately there was quite a lot of contact and cars in front of pit lane spearing everywhere. Burton's under pressure from Stankowski now, so second and third not done with yet, and Jono, the Sleeping Duck car's got a very good run out of Radion. The Camel Straight, the side draft, the out-braking performance. There's the turn in. Burton holds on. Good racing room. Great racecraft between these two. Outstanding job. Well done. There could have been contact there. There could have been 2 cars off into the undergrowth here in Belgium, but that was a great bit of race car driving.
See, and the reason why Burton obviously didn't let him go then, because that was a big opportunity being this last lap for Stankowski, because now really the only chance that Burton is going to have towards the latter half of this lap is going to be into that bus stop chicane, but already Stankowski has actually opened up a little bit of a margin and maybe enough to hold off Burton in behind. So that's why Burton knew, I've got to try and stick on the outside here to have the inside line for that right-hander. It didn't quite work, and now he's going to have his work cut out for him if he wants to get back this second spot. Keep in mind, Simon Bishop, if these two come together, he's not too far away here either as well.
Yeah, you're right. Meanwhile, Keita McDonald, the Hi-Tec Oils car, the 22-year-old from Maitland in New South Wales, who has an ambition to go real world racing one day. Right now, strutting his stuff in the virtual world and doing it superbly. He's got a handy margin. He's just got to execute Blanchimont well, which in these cars is flat out. Get the braking and turn in right for the bus stop chicane, and then he'll be good to notch up his first victory. The Hi-Tec Oils Speedweek E-Series in a Hi-Tec Oil sponsored car. Burton, last roll of the dice. Stankowski will block. He's allowed to do that. Burton will send it round the outside. Once again, the battle for second, alive and well in the final few corners. Hip and shoulder, Biff and Barge gets through. The Hi-Tec Oils car takes the win. What's going to be the fight for second, third and fourth? It's really close. Burton gets second. Bishop just misses out in the Shannon's car.
How good was that there as they came across the start-finish line? It was all elbows out. They weren't giving each other a lot of room, but they came through it out the other side. Fantastic stuff there for some of those key contenders. And let's listen into some of that post-race chatter now with the drivers.
Start of the race was shocking. I was behind you, and I was behind you at the start, and I think Brocky lost it into Burton. I had to back off to avoid him and went straight back through the field. Past him. I was going the same speed as him, but they all just got to tell each other no. Did an undercut with fella, and that worked. But ended up like he just didn't bump me down the straight. He just went through, cost us both their second edge. Yeah, stupid.
You and Jono got into it there.
Well done, Katie.
Yeah,
Thanks, Jono.
Well done, John.
Take it out last corner. Take it out last corner.
I thought I take it on Rouge then.
Yeah, I watched it. It was like, oh yeah.
I was like, here we go again.
Look at that.
Great debrief, great camaraderie in the Hi-Tec Oils Speedweek E-Series studio. Well done, Keaton. Terrific drive there. Burton from 8th to 2nd. Stankowski on the podium. Liam Tame, the Kero 2 Plus driver, did very well to get to 7th place. Dean Allen, Connor Healy, Gassardi to 10th, solid. Matthews, Conomos, race 1 winner, only 12th. Holton and Allen completed the field. Let's go to Charlie. She's talking to the winner.
Congratulations, your socks clearly work, well done. But we were holding our breath watching that. What was it like for you?
Yeah, I could say the same thing. After going through Rouge on the first lap, I thought, I'll get a bit squiggly. And I missed the apex on the corner after that. But then I got in the rhythm, just kept going. And I caught up to Conzio and got past him, and I just tried to hold the best I could.
Yeah.
Push hard as I can, so yeah.
And there was a lot of battles going on behind you. Were you sort of focusing on that, or are you looking ahead and keep going?
I was watching that. I was trying to watch the gap behind me. When I seen it was about 2 seconds, I could ease off just a little bit to keep it stable. But yeah, it looked like I had a good battle behind me, so that would have been good to watch.
Yeah, well, congratulations, doing amazing.
All right, thank you.
And now we're going to speak to our round 1 winner, Kenny Conomos. Congratulations.
Thank you, Charlie. Yeah, very pleased with that. First race went obviously very well, but second race was pretty tough for me. Every time I made a few places, just couldn't avoid an incident or two. So yeah, hopefully I can do better in the next reverse grid races, but very happy overall.
We've got the iconic Mountain Panorama coming up next. How do you feel about that track?
It's a home track, so it's definitely possibly my favourite track. So yeah, looking forward to it. I think a lot of us are very quick here, so it's going to be tricky because it's obviously hard to pass on top, especially the reverse grid. I think that's going to be a bit chaotic, but we'll see how we go.
Well, Kenny, congratulations and all the best for round 2.
Thanks, Charlie.
So Kenny Conomos topping the points at the end of round number 1 with 31 points. Interesting to note, he also got the fast lap in both of the races for the opening round of the series as well. Keaton McDonald second, a nice drive, of course, in that reverse grid race. Jake Burton, position number 3. We turn over the page, Paul Candelolian in position number 8 with obviously 19 points there as well. We look further back through the field, Connor Healy there in 12th with 7 points too. A fascinating description and a fascinating round there, Richard Craill. It was brilliant to watch.
It was awesome, Brian, and the best thing is, next time we get to go to the spiritual home of Australian motor racing. Mount Panorama Bathurst will be the scene for round 2 of the Hi-Tec Oils Speedweek Eseries, thanks to Gran Turismo Sport and PS4.
Wow, what an amazing start to the Hi-Tec Oils Speedweek E-Series. We have seen some amazing battles and quite possibly the best racing we have seen in a series so far. But can Kenny Conomos continue his domination, or will Keegan McDonald take the lead? We'll find out when we head to Mount Panorama next.